Good afternoon. Please keep eating and stay cool. I want to thank the mayor and all the dignitaries, and of course I want to thank our staff, John Trudeau, our general manager, and all the staff for pitching in and putting this event on. It's not surprising, and it's apropos that we're actually sitting in an earth mound passive solar building. It's 95 degrees out, and yet we're sitting with 135, 40 people here, and it's still a very pleasant space. And I just chose to show that we can design space that works with nature. It also works with our design. This is our yoga dome, and Tai Chi and yoga and other activities are held here every day. And I was glad that Suzanne got up and got us to do a little movement. I'd like to propose, Mayor, that we put every 15 minutes, there's a 5-minute break on the city council meeting, and everybody walks around and calms down and shakes hands and gets some water. I've been to some of those, and I would recommend it. I'd also recommend people to pick up this initiative, this health and wellness initiative put together by the mayor and the council. It's a great piece. It articulates a vision and sets a foundation for health and wellness and a definer both for the city and also a way to make the children and particularly the elderly that much better quality of life here in Desert Hot Springs. So one of the things I think is important when we look around and appreciate people taking time out, and of course we want to hear what the mayor and the congressman has to say, is to think about what this place, Desert Hot Springs, is, because when we think of Two Bunch Palms, we always connect it symbiotically with Desert Hot Springs, because as Desert Hot Springs thrives, we thrive, and as Two Bunch Palms expands and thrives, Desert Hot Springs thrives. They're one and the same. Just today we have, and I won't mention names for privacy, but we have an assistant secretary, former assistant secretary of HUD here as a guest. We have a group coming in that promotes health and natural organic foods coming in on Sunday. We had a four-time basketball champion just left about an hour ago. I've got people from Desert Hot Springs who just made an award. Danielle just had an award for her outstanding service from the Coachella Valley, and we have Danielle. Come on out here today. Just wave so they know who you are. I'm just mentioning your award. That's all. I'm just trying to embarrass you. We have people both who are residents of Desert Hot Springs who are also running our Tai Chi, Qigong. We have people who are also from here that are involved with cleaning up the streets and cleaning up the property leading up to the hot springs. There's a lot of great activity. So when we think of Desert Hot Springs and Two Bunch Palms, we think it's one and the same, because we think the promise of one leads to the promise of the other. Now, where we're sitting, we at Desert Hot Springs and at Two Bunch Palms particularly feel very, very blessed because of the waters that are here. We know these waters that are here, that are in the grotto and the grounds we're on now are sort of sacred grounds. These waters have been flowing for over 600 years. We know that by archaeological reports. We know that the name Two Bunch Palms, those two groups of palm trees have been, we had just saw a latest historical piece that said it was first identified in 1857. We were saying 1907 until then, but I just got someone just sent me, one of our neighbors sent me a new historic piece. So we know we're on ancient grounds, sacred grounds, and natural water. And we take that responsibility seriously, and we of course see it as a great differentiation for us as a business. Just like we think that's a great differentiation for Desert Hot Springs. Because we have a unique natural resource that few others have, and I know the mayor and the council are thinking more and more about how to promote that. In fact, I think we should be thinking about how we have a hot spring science and application museum downtown where we actually continue to educate people, let them experience it. I'd love to see kids running around, making a mess and splashing in a Desert Hot Springs pool. I'd like to see a museum that explains mineral waters and the health benefits and the healing benefits. And I'd love us to see us continue to accent our great natural qualities and strengths as we are going to do at Two Bunch Palms. When we design our new buildings, you're going to walk through waters to get to our treatment rooms. We're going to continue to strengthen what God has given us and we're blessed to have. In addition to that, we'll, of course, continue our spas. We're preparing to look at building a new spa building, and we'll continue, as you're getting a taste of today, the healthier cuisine. And then, as you saw from Suzanne, we'll have movement and fitness, and classes. So our 4 pillars are healing waters, the healing arts, healthier cuisine, and movement. Those are the 4 pillars that make up Two Bunch Palms. I want to just tell you something, just for your edification. You know, I was one of the first sustainable developers back in the 90s, and we did a study. And we found out that 66% of people, homeowners, take their little plastic blue or green bin out to garbage day on recycle. And yet at that time, 16% of the population were what we call environmentally ideological. So we kept figuring out, well, geez, what's the delta there? 66% versus 16. Half the population is taking their bins out. Who are they? Now, it's a little higher, by the way, in California than 16%. And it's grown from 66% into the mid-70s since this study. But we were trying to figure out, what is the deal? And what we found out is that those 50%, which is now in the high 60s, because the total is in the high 70s, that percentage is what we call nurturers. They were taking that bin out because they knew we had to do something. We just knew that I used to have a ball field to play in, and my kids and grandkids don't have that today. Or the water is just a little more questionable. Or the air outgassing. Or there's a little more breast cancer in younger people. Or there's diabetes that used to be called, all of us, those are old enough to remember, onset adult diabetes got converted to the term diabetes 2. We did that because the AMA said there's a dramatic crisis where now diabetes 2 is showing up in 12-year-olds. So people started to make the connection between health and family safety and well-being and the environment. And that's those 50% that's now in the 60s. So when we think about healthier waters, and we think about healthier buildings, and we think about healthier places, and we think about quality of life for our children and our seniors, we're talking not in the fringes, we're talking about the core nurturers that think about their children and grandchildren. It resonates with them. And so we're positioning this resort to speak to the majority of American consumers, and I recommend that through the mayor and the council's initiative, you're doing the same thing. Because we happen at Two Bunch Palms have the right to live in the leisure side of this space. The mayor and the council, the congressmen, the supervisors, the other dignitaries from other towns, you know the opposite. That we know that the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, came out with a study in 2000 and said that 1 out of 3 children born today will have diabetes by 2055. 1 out of 3. John Sally, I had breakfast with today, the former basketball champion, told me, Kevin, when it's a minority group, it's 1 out of 2 children born from 2000. So there's a serious public policy, there's a serious economic challenge why what we're promoting at the leisure side needs to be carried through at the public policy side, and I applaud the mayor and I applaud the council for their activity to promote that. The nice thing, and just in closing, the nice thing about Two Bunch Palms is that we can create an experiential, pleasant space to remind people that all of this is possible. And we have the leisure dollars to sort of lead the way. Then we want to bring that with the mayor. I say bring that with the mayor, but he's actually always pulling me saying, hey Kevin, when are we going to get this stuff down at the Boys and Girls Club? But if we take the leisure experience and we take the Tai Chi and the nutrition and the movement therapies and the healing waters and the knowledge that we gain at the leisure side, we can bring it down to the public policy side into the public realm. And I think that's what the mayor and the council are always talking to me about. They never leave a meeting that says, how do we translate this? How do we take advantage? How do we leverage off of it? So I think that's one of the benefits Two Bunch Palms has, is that we'll bring people. I mean, matter of fact, we have a Chinese delegation that's here, but they're coming late because they're shopping today. So, and the reason why that's interesting is when we bring people in, they're not just spending dollars here. They're actually spending dollars outside, throughout the county. So we have boutiques and restaurants downtown Main Street, Desert Hot Springs, and Palm Springs, and elsewhere, that it will also have a rippling effect. So I think the fact is what we're seeing, our role is to take what we have at the leisure side, the intellectual property we're able to generate, and help transfer it. And at the same time, we do it in such a way that's experiential and inspirational, so it's encouraging and joyful. And with that, I think it's going to be a very positive relationship we have with our city. I thank you very much for coming, and I think things look bright. Just to close, if anyone, after this is done, after the mayor and the congressman speak, we'll have our new model room open for anyone that wants to see the future of Two Bunch Palms. It's right across the street, and there'll be somebody there to show you room 121. Thank you very much. Enjoy lunch.
Thank you, Kevin. After the mayor's speech, we will have some presentations from Congressman Ruiz, Assemblyman Perez, as well as Supervisor John Benoit. So please stay for that as well. At this time, I'd like to introduce our Honorable Mayor, Adam Sanchez.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. While Ms. Heather gets the slideshow going, I just want to thank everybody. Two Bunch Palms Resort, such a magnificent site. When I first had Kevin come into the city, he was talking about health and wellness and the future of Desert Hot Springs. And my thoughts to him was, public policy, many times, starts at the top and works its way down. But then there are times when a community needs to step up and say, how do we move public policy now from the community level on up? And that's what we've been doing in Desert Hot Springs the last 5 months. I think anybody would be rather challenged that first day after you're elected mayor, you find out you got a $6 million challenge, which is what it is. But then, 5 months later, you're developing strategies now on how we're going to move forward and put that behind us and do what needs to be done to create the kind of city that we all can be proud of. And so the next challenging thing is to come here before you all and to share with you everything that we're looking at doing as we move forward. And I really got to thank Martin Magana, all the city staff that are here, because they're the ones that have been assisting us during this whole process. And they've done it at a time when we had to make adjustments to the budget. It's affected them personally. But they've shown that they appreciate working at the city. They have the kind of pride and dignity that even through these tough times, we're going to come out of them. And when we do, we're all going to benefit from it. And so I got the clicker. Let's see if we can start this. Okay. Probably going back, it's probably been over 10 years ago, but we developed a mission statement in the city of Desert Hot Springs. And one of the things I want to do as mayor is get back to it. And it's a very simple mission statement. It basically says that we're committed to being a world-class health and wellness destination based upon its famous miracle waters, unique desert ecosystem, spectacular mountain views, and natural environment. And that's what we need to get back to. When that mission statement was developed, it was great to have probably over 100 people developing it, but it's set on a shelf. And now we need to bring it back. And we all need to buy into it as we move the city forward. And, but it all starts, of course, with the mayor and the council working on the same page and believing that, better days are ahead. Now, one of the great things about Desert Hot Springs, we got Mount San Jacinto, which is a beautiful view for the city. We also got Mount San Gorgonio, which is in the back line there. But, having the best views, having the best waters in the city really sets us apart, because when you got award-winning water and you got the best hot water in the world, you got a great combination, but we got to build off of it. And these are our early city leaders. Many of you that have been in Desert Hot Springs know them very well, but the waters were discovered back in 1913 by Mr. Cabot Yerkes. He found the hot and cold waters, and then Mr. Coffey came along with Mr. Wardman, and basically they set the site plans for the design of the city. Then soon afterward, Mr. Bingham came along, and many of you know him as part of the Angel View Crippled Children's Foundation, to really make Desert Hot Springs a healing place for our children, not just here in the valley, but throughout the world. This is a place for them to heal and to come. And so we have a great history to build on. Now, of course, Cabot's built, the National Register has his home there, here in Desert Hot Springs. And if many of you have had the opportunity to go there, it's a very unique, special place. It's pretty much like Two Bunch Palms. It really sets us apart from the rest of the valley. We have a very significant historical point of interest. Now, and of course it was built in 41, and the remarkable thing is that it was done on recycled materials, as he basically covered the whole valley, bringing everything back here to build that. With that, of course, we have the one-of-a-kind Waioki, which is one-of-a-kind in California, but it's really special to us because it really brings that spiritual side to Cabot's museum. Now, the demographics of the city, and I'm doing that just to give you guys a good lead-in, some of you that are new to the city. Our demographics, have changed dramatically. Now we have a Hispanic population of about 56%, and median age is about 34, and of course our population is 27, but our square miles are 29, and our median income 32, and per capita about 15,000. Now the Mission Springs Water District, which I know the representatives are here today, one of the things we really want to do soon with them is we got to start having our joint meetings where we have 2 council members and 2 water board members meeting with the directors, because we got to establish a better working relationship, because we're the 2 biggest service providers in the city. But many times, we're kind of separated because we're different entities. But we got to come together and meet more regularly so that we can do what's in the best interest of everybody in the community. And one example of it is that recently when we had sewers put in and we had streets paved, and that had to be a joint partnership in order to get that done. And it was at a point of 6.5 million. And that's really an important partnership that we need to build on, because we need to get more sewers in Desert Hot Springs, because our great waters are right under us. But we got to get more sewers. And that's where we need to look for federal help, state help. And basically, it's a partnership between everybody coming to the table to do what's in the best interest of the community. And of course, Desert Valley Disposal just recently provided us with $1 million. That's going to really offset our cash flow, which has really been our biggest challenge up to now. But as a big major partner, they have stepped up just recently to make sure that the city progresses and we can move forward as we go into the next budget year, which is July 1st. And with that extension, we really were thinking that we weren't going to be able to kind of get through the end of the budget year, but as you can see, Mr. Vic Wade is the president, Mr. Cunningham, and Mr. Bob Kuznick really made it happen for us. Now, the biggest other relationship we had was the Desert Healthcare District. And as many of you are aware, we're very fortunate to be a part of that district. And I know there are a lot of cities on the east side of the valley that this is something that they would really like to build on as they move on into the future. And the most important part of it all is that they were able to put $5.2 million into the building of the Health and Wellness Center, which we're going to get into very soon. But that partnership there is probably above and beyond any other partnership we have right now. And of course, there's a Health and Wellness Center currently. And now we want to just briefly talk about the schools right now, because I know we have quite a few school board members here. Having a new middle school and having a new elementary school next to each other, what's going to be important now is how do we progress to really elevate education in the community. One area we got to stress is we're going to continue to have joint meetings, but one goal that we want to achieve, and it's going to be part of the health and wellness goal, is that right now we want to make sure that as we move on with our partnerships, that every 3rd grader in the city of Desert Hot Springs, when they leave 3rd grade, they need to be reading at 3rd grade, 4th grade, or 5th grade level. We can't have them below that. And one of the other biggest challenges we're going to have is the Desert Healthcare District. We're going to ask them to come up to us and challenge them, make sure that every child that leaves the 3rd grade is going to be able to learn how to swim at the Health and Wellness Center and to put up the money that's going to be necessary. So we'll be the first city in the Coachella Valley that sets a goal that every 3rd grader not only is going to be reading at 3rd grade level, but they're going to learn how to swim in the great Furby swimming pool that we have in our city. So I think that's something to be proud of. Now we'll get into the financials real quick, because everybody's really concerned about that. Now, as you're aware right now, if everything goes accordingly, we're going to be able to end the year, hopefully by the end of June, with $600,000 in the bank. It's what we're shooting for. And one of the key ingredients to our revenue that many people should know about is that our TOT, especially here at Two Bunch Palms Resort, we're up 30%, which is really a great number for us. And that's really assisting us with the budget. But also, one number that many people weren't aware of, our property taxes are only $867,000 right now. So it's a number that's small, but it's an area that is of concern to us. Now, if you talk about the Measure F that we have coming up on June 3rd, what that will end up doing for us is provide a fund balance of $3.2 million. That basically puts us on firm financial footing. And that's why it's so important for us to really support Measure F, because right now we need that additional revenue. And it's a challenge for us to find those opportunities to do it. But this is a great opportunity. And with that, we can then proceed into the new year thinking about all the great things we can do with the budget in order to enhance all the public services we have in the city. Now, as I said before, our employees basically took a 22% cut because of the salaries. We've had to reduce our police department. But with that, this is going to be the savings we have to make, because we've cut $2 million just now from the budget. And what we need to do now is put more money into the budget. So that's the benefits that we need to move forward on. And so anybody who doesn't feel that Measure F is going to be our answer, I can only say that they're wrong, because it is going to be the answer. And one of the things I love about Kevin Kelly is that at this moment, he made the investment we needed to make as a health and wellness spa resort to show all investors that we are going to grow and we're going to develop, and that there's no reason why you can't believe in Desert Hot Springs at this time. Now, public safety is going to be our biggest concern, because we got to have a strong public safety, because they're the ones that work with our kids and our children. And of course, graffiti. One of the biggest part of our program is that the difference in graffiti in this city from 2013 and 2014 is dramatic. The incidents are going down. You see less graffiti in the city of Desert Hot Springs now than ever before. And of course, you can't fund fire stations unless you have money. And that's why Measure F is, again, very important, because we got to fund these fire stations and make sure we have paid staff there, not just volunteers. Now, in this picture here, you see Fredo Haro, which with Borrego Community Health Foundation, and myself and Assemblyman Manuel Perez. One of the greatest things that we've been able to do is build healthcare in the city of Desert Hot Springs. A year ago, we only had one doctor. Now with 3 medical clinics, we got over 10 doctors. And that's a substantial increase in the city. And I know Dr. Ruiz can really speak to that. But that's an accomplishment we need to be proud of. And we've been able to do it through partnerships. And we need to grow that, because every child, like Mr. Kelly was saying, we got to work on diabetes, we got to work on obesity, but more importantly, we got to work on the overall health of every family in the city of Desert Hot Springs. And so with the Borrego clinics going up, everything seems to be working very well. So now what we need to really focus on is get the economic development moving. Now Mr. Kelly, touched on basically what he's done here with the Great Waters and inviting tourists to come to the town. But the investment that he looks at making very soon is basically to add 52 guest rooms. And at the same time, he wants to put in crossing guards for $80,000, which is going to be very good to us. But the resort will have 621 residential units, 283 visitor units, 385 resort units on 19 acres, and then he has 3.97 commercial space. So what he's going to basically be able to do is increase the TOT by 123,000 going into next year, once he gets this moving and built, which is what we need in our general fund right now. Now, with that, he basically has laid the blueprint so that we move forward, and hopefully he's going to get his solar system up pretty soon. That's going to be carbon free. So that's kind of like one of his next little projects he's working on. But in order to build economic development, we have spas in Desert Hot Springs. And we have some that are just getting online right now that many of you might be able to soon take advantage of. And the first one is the White Cave Spa, which will be a 10-room hotel. And it's 85% complete. I know the owners are sitting right here to my right, and they're looking forward to that opening up by June. But you're seeing new growth and new development at a time when many people feel that the city was not going to be growing. And then you got the Hyundai Hotel, which is a 98-room hotel. And that one basically is another $2 million investment. So now you got some hotels that are being built at a time when people are saying that Desert Hot Springs isn't progressing. And then you got Vista Ventana Hotel, which is a 19-room hotel with spa. And that one there, the TOT alone will be $30,000. And that one up right now is in what's the most beautiful up and running hotels we have. And they're also the owners of the Monroe in Palm Springs. But that alone right there shows you 3 hotels and spas that are up and running and developing at the current time. Now the biggest project that's on the line right now is Pearson Plaza. And I know that one has gone right through the council right now. So a lot of people asked about what is going to be built there. And one of the areas that we're really weak on as a community is workforce training. We just don't have enough workforce training in the city of Desert Hot Springs. I mean, we have close to 60% unemployment. But where is the county services to assist us with workforce training? So that's going to be key to get that started, get it off the ground, so that we can work to bring in additional training. And the great part about it, it's 125 county jobs to the city. So hopefully that's going to be kicking ground very quickly so that we can move forward to really work with that issue. And the building itself, well, hopefully it's going to be really a staple for the community. Now the next one is our favorite, which is on Palm Drive, and I know County Supervisor Benoit has very hard working on to make sure that we get that one up and running very quickly. But if we can get that open soon, we can have WIC there, and basically that's nutritional programs and mental health. But you know, that building's been there for over a year now, but I think we're just around the corner to get it where we can get county services in there, because that's going to create additional jobs for the city, 35, but it's really going to be part of the interest into the community. We just need to have that building up and running for the betterment of the whole city, and looking forward to making sure that that gets done very quickly. Now the village of Mission Lakes, many of you are familiar with that project because it's been sitting there now almost 3 years, and we just haven't been able to get to the point where we can open it up. But now it seems to me that we're not even, maybe about 3 months away from getting everything in place. And basically that's going to bring a tremendous amount of retail into the community. And I know there's people that want to build fitness centers there, real estate. But I think if we can get that off the ground in 3 more months, that's going to be really move the city forward. And that's probably one of the most outstanding plazas we have in the community. The problem is we just have to get it open. And of course, you've got Borrego Solar, which has really been a big benefit to the city now, because you know the whole valley is going solar. And we really got to make sure that if we're going to be a solar city, we're going to need to continue to embrace solar and all the positive aspects that it brings to the community. Now, one of the big programs we have right now is Grid Alternatives, which has 83 solar systems in the community. And I know there's in the audience with us right now. Why don't you stand up, Stuart. Well, anyway, Stuart, I have 83. Go ahead and give my hand for this. They have 83 solar systems in the community, and it's affecting the residents that basically really need this assistance. But one of the things that Stuart wants to do is a solar-thon by next March of next year. And we want to pick a neighborhood in the city where we can do 5 homes and put solar systems on them. And at the same time, move the city forward so that, you know, we have a chance to be a solar city in the future. The kind of city that, you know, really embraces it. So we're looking forward to working with Stuart as we move forward with the project. And we had the opportunity to examine some homes just recently, put on the solar systems, and these families here, you know, are going to be reducing their cost tremendously. Now the Rio Ranch Market, which is right there by Kmart, is the big question of the day also, because people keep wondering when that's going to open up. And that total investment is $2.1 million. And what everybody wants to see is for Sears and Rio Rancho to come together so we can get those construction jobs. But I think that there's no reason why they can't come on board by the first of the year. And I think that would really benefit the Kmart shopping center. Now the Oasis project is on 2nd Street. That once again is a total $1 million investment, and the number of jobs are 25, and projected revenue is 145. And that also is going to the planning department currently. I wanted to move quickly to get to Walmart, because it seems like Walmart's the biggest question in the city. And the city's just waiting for Walmart to come to the table and tell us when they're ready to move forward. But you know, it's gonna be 160 square feet. The retail pads are 24,000. Number of jobs are 300, and it's continuing through the entitlement process. And that's going to be a major project for the city, but we're just waiting for that to move forward. And I think that's going to be part of the economic development of the city. So we're just sitting here, hopefully to move that project forward, because it's a big part of the community as of right now. Now here's the layout that currently that Walmart has proposed for us. Now this picture here is Congressman Jerry Lewis, myself, and former Mayor Matt Wayuku. And we put that picture in there because 12 years ago we wanted to build a health and wellness center. And we weren't going to get it built unless we got help from Congressman Lewis. And he was able to put up $2 million. And at that time, we also were working with Santa Rosa del Valle because we needed medical services. And we had a $250,000 grant from Desert Healthcare District to get a mobile clinic here for over a year and a half. That was the impetus to build the Health and Wellness Center and the $20 million. And I know that Assemblyman Perez was working for Santa Rosa del Valle at that time. And that's when you go back to talking about policy that comes from the community on up. But that was the impetus to build a $20 million Health and Wellness Center. And that was 12 years ago. And that was really a staple for this community. And so you see the picture there, the Health and Wellness Center. And that's where we want to start with the building our initiative as we move forward to create a very healthy Desert Hot Springs. And of course you have the gymnasium, and you got myself pumping up the city, because that's what we want to do, is pump up the city so that we can get it moving forward. And you know, for $50 you can join the cardio exercise room there in a year. So I know there's a large proportion of the Hispanic community is using that room there. And it doesn't get much better than $50 to see the gym. And then you got the John H. Furby Aquatic Center, where we're going to make sure that every third grader is going to be able to learn how to swim before they leave the third grade. And then we got the Health Center, and then we got the Wellness Studio, which at 6 o'clock today I'm going to be down there talking about the state of the city and the progress that we're having right now. But that's the beautiful Wellness Studio that anybody can use if you're going to do a seminar related to wellness. Anything at all. As long as it relates to wellness, you can use that facility in the kitchen. And then we got the DHS Got Talent team that I created in order to perform throughout the city, and they'll be performing tonight at 5:30 at the Health and Wellness Center. And here we had to put in a picture of our great elected officials in the community of Desert Hot Springs. We got Congressman Lewis, I should say Congressman Raul Reese on the left side, putting together the holiday gifts that we normally do during the holidays. But you know, it's all important to visit the city and to get things done. And of course, we got Supervisor Benoit, who also comes out and lends a helping hand whenever he gets the opportunity. So we can't move the city forward unless we get all our electives, you know, participating and along with us. And of course, the holiday parade, I got to thank Councilmember McKee for helping me coordinate that 2 years ago. It was the longest running parade in the city, but it was through his efforts that made us get it done and get it moving, and so something we're very proud of. And again, we have the pickup crew in here, and I got Paula Terrifics out here in the audience somewhere. Right here. Where? Stand up. Anyways. You know, we started cleaning up the city, me and Councilmember McKee and also Councilmember Betts. And we started getting these bins from DVD because we wanted to impact the community. But soon after the election, you know, we're too busy now trying to deal with the challenges with the budget that Paula Terrific came up and said, I'll take it on and work with DVD. And now she has a core group of volunteers, and probably over 100 of them now, that will go out on weekends now and pick any project in the community, and we will go out and start cleaning up the city. Yeah. Now, a lot of people say, you know, who wants to go out and pick up, you know, trash? But the reality is that we have to set the example ourselves as elected officials so that the community partners can buy into it, so then everybody gets on board. I believe at this time next year, Paula will probably have about 500 volunteers. That's what I see her having. And I look forward to growing this, because this is what our community service is all about. And here we were just a week ago cleaning up 2 bunch bombs. Now the quality of life at our schools, well, it's second to nobody here, because we got all the safe routes to school cycle money. And we make sure every school is safe and has crossing guards, and that will always be a priority for the city council. But we can't do it without that partnership with the school district. But it's such an important aspect of safe and wellness in the community. And now we're going to briefly go through the soccer parks. Of course, we have 2 soccer leagues. We have DHS soccer and we have AYSO soccer, and they're taking advantage of every opportunity we have. You can see the green grass of Little League Baseball, which just recently had a hiccup and the water got turned off, but it's back in green again. So we're not letting anything go by the wayside when it comes to our youth in the community. And of course, we got the Disco Park BMX track, which anybody that really wants to fly in the air and on a bike, on a skateboard, you're more than welcome to come out and show us your skills and abilities. Now, one of the things that just happened recently, not because of the volunteerism that I think Paula created, is we created Bryce Canyon. It's a walk, it's a trail by volunteers in the community. Normally it would take a state grant, a federal grant, but in 2.5 years, they built a whole new walking trail in the city of Desert Hot Springs in South Urbana. And it's the most clean, immaculate hiking trail in the city. So I kind of challenge anybody who wants to go on a beautiful hike in Desert Hot Springs. All you need to do is go to Urbana and San Rafael and you'll see a beautiful trail. Built by volunteers at no cost to the city budget and no cost at all to the community, but it was built on a labor of love. And I know Mr. Hernandez couldn't be here or Mr. Bryce, but it's what volunteerism is all about. Nowhere else can I see anybody create a canyon trail at no cost to the community. Now we get to Two Bunch Resort when it comes down to the spa tour. But most importantly, the hotels that we have here that really speak for themselves are the Aqua Soleil, which is just right down the road. You got the El Morocco Inn and Spa, which is beautiful setting and pools, and really exemplifies everything beautiful about Morocco and what that culture is about, and the coffee and drinks and so forth. So if you ever want a total experience, that's the place to go. There we go. And of course you got the Spring Resort and Spa, which is a beautiful place to relax and enjoy the health and wellness in the community. And of course you got Heather Coldonado and the beautiful Chamber of Commerce on the corner of Palm and Pearson. And you know, her visitor count of 14,000 only speaks to the interest that people have about Desert Hot Springs and where it's going and where the hotels are and all the great restaurants in the community. Now, the biggest part of the whole meeting tonight was to talk about the Health and Wellness Initiative. Because, you know, we have got to now change our lifestyle in Desert Hot Springs. You know, what signifies us from the rest of the Coachella Valley? Now, about a year ago, I was at a meeting up in Coachella, and I was reading about the city of Coachella and the mayor who's here today. They actually have an element in their general plan about health and wellness in the general plan. So I was saying to myself, how is it that they can have an element for health and wellness in the general plan when they don't even have a $20 million health and wellness center? How can that be? So what is it that we didn't do right or correctly at the very beginning of designing our health and wellness center? So what I decided to do was take what Coachella had. Because that's what friends are for, right? That's why you have an anchor mayor on the other side of the valley. So I took what Coachella had, and they didn't seem to mind. So I took their health and wellness element and basically are designing it to fit the Clinton initiative that is out there right now throughout the Coachella Valley. In the Clinton initiative, we took every goal, and what we're doing is applying it to Desert Hot Springs, personally. Everything that there is that they promised that they're going to do. And so what we came up with the help of Heather Coldonado and the Chamber is our own health and wellness initiative for the city of Desert Hot Springs. And it's going to deal with obesity, it's going to deal with diabetes, it's going to deal with the air quality and how it affects our kids in the community here in Desert Hot Springs. And basically, the policy is to change, it's to support development of health, active environments for all community residents. Now, in order to get this initiative to work, it's going to take everybody to get involved. And it takes everybody in this room that's going to get involved. Because the first phone call I got, and I think I got it from Assemblyman Perez's office, is, you know, how are you going to fund this thing? Well, it's going to have to be done through partnerships, through everybody, from the county, to the assembly, to our congressional. It's going to be everybody getting engaged and involved in embracing health and wellness. Because when you think about it, we have the health and wellness facilities here in Desert Hot Springs. You know, Coachella has the element in Coachella. But at the end of the day, it's not just Desert Hot Springs developing the health and wellness initiative to benefit us. It has to be the whole valley. The whole valley needs to get on board. Every city in the valley needs to embrace it and take it personally for public policy from the bottom up. All we're trying to do now is build off of Coachella's and then build off what Kevin's doing here with Two Bunch Palms Resort, because what Kevin was saying was that He's developing it for the tourists, for the residents that come here to enjoy this facility. But that's from the top down. See, we can't have that. We got to develop it from the bottom up with the community. And that's where Kevin comes into play. That's when borrowing the element from Coachella comes into play. Now we got our own special Desert Hot Springs Health and Wellness Initiative that we tie into everything that we do, from planning to parks to building our facilities. And it really sets us apart from the whole valley. And that's what we want to do. But at the same time, the whole valley is going to be benefiting from this, because we're going to share out with everybody our accomplishments as we move forward. So the things we've been able to do with health and wellness, and many of you haven't been aware of, is, we got the Skyborn Half Marathon, 5K Health and Wellness Run. We have the Desert Hot Springs High School Family Wellness Day. We have the Day of the Child Health and Wellness Festival. We have the Desert Hot Springs Resource Center Health Fair. We have the Mayor's Healthy Happens Here Awards. And so what you have here is a total commitment of everybody on the council to get on board to put health and wellness as an initiative forward for the entire community. And the challenge that we're going to have is to make sure that the whole community learns about this. And that's probably the hardest part we have, because we're going to have to do that community outreach. How do we go out there and tell the whole community that this is to our best benefit? But in closing, a lot of people have been asking the city of Desert Hot Springs, how does it benefit the whole valley for us to be successful? And the question is, how does it benefit the whole valley? And the question is that it's totally, we have to move forward and we have to succeed. Because the Desert Hot Springs succeeds, the county succeeds, the whole valley succeeds, and as a community, we're all going to benefit from it. And so our vision is for the whole city to move forward and to move forward together. And so in order to do that, of course, we've got the whole council members that are in front of us here. And we have the business community that's in the audience. But more importantly, we've got all the elected officials here. And so what I'm going to ask all of you to do is not exercise. It's not to stretch and shake a little bit. What I want you to do is just buy into the vision that we can take what Kevin Kelly has here. We can take what Coachella has developed in their element, and we can create now, from public policy standpoint, from the bottom up, a health initiative that the whole valley can benefit from. And that's what my vision is, and I thank you for your time.
At this time, I'd like to invite the elected officials to present certificates to Mayor Sanchez. We'll start with Riverside County Supervisor John Benoit.
I didn't ask for a check, I asked for initiative.
Adam, we are working on it. The county is absolutely pleased to join you, and we have our own program on health and wellness. It is clearly a focus of Desert Hot Springs, the county, the nation. We need to work together on it, and we're proud to be here today to recognize the efforts in a beautiful place dedicated to health and wellness, in a beautiful city that has a bright future if we bring it all together. So congratulations on your energy and your effort to try and move this very critical part of our commitment forward. And we're going to get WIC in that building in about a month.
Thank you.
All right.
I said 1 month, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Work it out.
And then Assemblyman Manuel Perez.
I think your vision is awesome. I think it does make sense, and it makes good sense. And I read the pamphlet here, and it says the time is now. It is. It's been. It's long overdue. And I appreciate the points that you made, and appreciate Mr. Kelly hosting this event, very important event, City of Desert Hot Springs, for all that you do, and the staff and the residents of this beautiful place. There are a lot of commonalities between Coachella and Desert Hot Springs, growing up in Coachella. And the fact that I also served here, not only as your assembly member, but we used to run that mobile unit that you just saw, Santa Rosa del Valle Clinic. I used to park it right there at Kmart. I literally would drive it and bring our nurses and I would sit there and make sure that folks receive the health care, and I go leaflet beforehand, a few days before, because at the time we were struggling with doctors. You know, community health, in its essence, is not only the amelioration of disease and illness, but it's also ensuring the quality of life of its residents are improved. And that also looks at poverty issues, unemployment issues, issues around safe routes to schools, clinics, and one thing that you touched upon, Mr. Mayor, is literacy. Third grade, we want students to be reading at third grade level. Literacy is very, very critical. When one can read the word, they can read the world. And as reading the world, they can transform the society. They can transform the conditions in their own community, and they can transform themselves. So with that, Mr. Mayor, on behalf of the state of California, Certificate of Recognition, Health and Wellness Initiative. This certificate of recognition is presented to the City of Desert Hot Springs for your distinguished service in raising awareness of optimum health and wellness for all its residents. Together with the commitment of our business leaders, public health, schools, and families, we can forge ahead to build a stronger and healthier community. Thank you for increasing awareness to our constituents and making healthier lifestyle choices and meeting our goal of solving the problem of childhood obesity and other issues within our generation. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
You can take all the time you want. Since you're a doctor, you know, you have it.
And then Congressman Dr. Raul Ruiz.
Mayor, this is a great celebration today of not only your accomplishments, but more importantly of what you are going to continue to accomplish for the city of Desert Hot Springs and the Coachella Valley. But first, I need to thank Kevin for hosting this wonderful event. Thank you very much for allowing us to be here. Heather, thank you for being that sunshine that we all need in our lives to get things organized and moving. Thank you so much. And thank you to Desert Hot Springs City Council members, the Chamber of Commerce, and everybody who made this event possible, including those that are going to wash your plates, pick up after you, and that work in this facility. I want to thank everybody who took part in all of this. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias por todo su apoyo para este evento. You know, across our nation, we talk about health and wellness, from the kitchen table to the halls of Congress, to city councils. And we always talk about what can we do to create a healthy community, a community that can experience wellness. And I've seen communities in the middle of disasters and after the earthquake of Haiti, or in extreme poverties in the jungles of Chiapas, or even here in our East Valley in Desert Hot Springs, taking care of patients day after day after day. And one of the things that is very important to identify is that health, as Manuel Perez said, is not just the absence of disease. It also includes the social determinants of health. It includes the ability to have safe streets. It includes the ability to have nutritious food. And we have many people in our valley who pick the fruits and vegetables that we all rely on to live nutritious lifestyles, but yet can't afford to even buy those vegetables and fruits and vegetables themselves. And so that's one of the things that is very important to recognize as a public health expert and disaster humanitarian specialist, is that our economic development is intricately linked to community wellness and health. And I'm very glad to see the projects and the initiatives and the work that the Chamber of Commerce is doing in order to make sure that we have a welcoming environment for businesses in order to create economic development for everybody else. And I want to thank you very much for the work that you do in your businesses. Thank you for trusting in yourselves, trusting in the people of Desert Hot Springs, trusting in the vision that you all have to improve job opportunities, business opportunities right here. We have a long way to go still in the state of California. We have a long way to go to decrease these burdensome regulations and duplications of processes that we have that make it very difficult. But at least here is an example of what we can do when we start working together. And Adam was right when he talked about Desert Hot Springs being one of the most medically underserved cities. But it is one of the most aspiring cities where we can actually do something soon to ameliorate our designation as being a medically underserved area. In fact, when I directed the Coachella Valley Healthcare Initiative, we did the research and we counted how many physicians work in every community that's considered medically underserved. And we thought, you know, the eastern Coachella Valley with 1 to 8,960 people was pretty bad, and Desert Hot Springs had 1 to 9,000. But because of the population size, Desert Hot Springs is able to remedy that with a simply 4 to 5 more physicians. And this partnership that you're creating with all the different entities and the stakeholders that are right here is going to make real profound impacts on the people that continue to suffer needlessly because they can't access health care. And so because of that, and these innovative solutions that mean the difference between life and death in communities across the Coachella Valley, Mayor Adam Sanchez has tackled this issue head-on with his Health and Wellness Initiative. Mayor Sanchez's emphasis on health and wellness for our community is a great approach to addressing many of the public health issues Desert Hot Springs faces, but this kind of innovative and compassionate, intelligent, analytical approach to leadership isn't new for Mayor Sanchez. From early in his career, he focused his energies on serving the community, from working at the Desert Hot Springs Community Services Director to working at the DHS Boys and Girls Club, the Valley Partnerships AmeriCorps program, and now as mayor of Desert Hot Springs. So today, we as a community recognize the hard work and commitment to Desert Hot Springs and the Coachella Valley. And on behalf of Desert Hot Springs, the 36th Congressional District, and the whole Coachella Valley, because I can tell you firsthand, working at Eisenhower's Emergency Department, we see patients from Desert Hot Springs. That Desert Hot Springs does not exist in our community in isolation or a vacuum, that we are all interconnected with all the opportunities that we have in our valley, and we're one community. And so on behalf, I am proud to present my friend and colleague, Mayor Adam Sanchez, this certificate and recognition for his work on the Desert Hot Springs Health and Wellness Initiative. Thank you very much.
Now, Kevin Kelly did say one thing about council meetings. You know, we could always have them right here, right? Okay, just want to check on that for the winter meetings, maybe? Okay.
Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time and for your support of the Desert Hot Springs Chamber of Commerce and to come out to our annual State of the City luncheon. We appreciate and thank our sponsors who have made this event possible. We also encourage you, if you're available this evening, to attend the State of the City Health and Wellness with Mayor Adam Sanchez event at the Community Health and Wellness Center at 5:30 this evening. It is a free event. We do have some of our wellness partners. We've got Desert Regional Medical Center, we've got Borrego Health, we've also got Booking.com, we've got a surprise from Palm Springs Unified School District with somebody who does these awesome smoothies, but with a bike. Like, it might make a smoothie with a bike powered. I guess it's like super cool. So come out and join us for this free community event. In addition to that, we've got, I believe, over 60 children coming out to audition for the DHS Got Talent. So you want to see that we've got some students that have some talent. You heard one today from our high school here, beautiful voice. Well, there's many more of those students with such talents that are coming out to the auditions this evening tonight. So if you can, come out, support them, cheer them on. Have a lovely day, and thank you.